right, good afternoon, everybody. The Bulls are back in town. Everybody. I'm an associate member of T3 Trading Group, which is an SEC registered broker-dealer and member of FINRA SIPC. All my trades are placed through T3 Trading Group. You should carefully consider whether trading is suitable for you in light of your own financial condition. Position disclosure here. I got out of all the quantum longs that I had on. So as long RGTI, QBT, SIUN, I'm out of all them. And the only new position on here is I did keep a little bit of this ION Q short. It's not a huge position. It could definitely run against me a good bit further. So we'll see. Let's take a look at this market. Like I said, the Bulls are back. The Bulls are back. You love to see it. SPYs, 1.8% in the green. Qs, 2.2% in the green. IWM, 2% in the green. TLT, big bounce back, 1.7% up. And the dollar finished down small, well off its lows. All right. Let's turn it over to the charts. So, yeah, I mean, look, it was a really strong day. I don't think that this was unexpected for us. The VIX had been elevated. A lot of people had unwinded positions. There's certainly possible for this market to sell off more, I think, with a CPI that came in hot. But I think we were at a spot from a positioning perspective with this market where there's plenty of room for buying to come in to drive us higher, but still room for selling to come in to drive us lower. So this was a really important CPI to give some relief to the bulls, and they got it. So the market has recaptured key levels now. I mean, it's really started to do that yesterday, but it's confirmed it today. We're now well above SPY 580. We are nicely above QQQ 510. We are well above IWM 218. So those were the key levels that we had been paying attention to. We breached those levels on the downside for a couple days. If anything, and I talked about this I think twice today, if anything, I would describe that as now bullish that happened, because this break of support, just using SPY 580 here, and subsequent snapback now looks like a failed breakdown. And from a failed move can come a fast move. And we are getting a fast move that's helped by interest rates, it's helped by the dollar, it's helped by core CPI coming in a little bit light. So the bulls are looking pretty good. Technically here, from like a trend analysis perspective, I would describe us as actually fairly neutral. Still, not necessarily bullish nor bearish. We will become bullish if we can really break through some of these resistance levels. So it's a great start for the bulls, and I do think that there is going to be follow-through, but technically I would describe us as neutral on the small picture and intermediate time frame, bullish on the big time frame, and we can very quickly become bullish across the board if we can get further follow-through to the upside to clear out some of the resistance levels. Get us back above SPY 600, get us back above QQQ 528, and IWM like 226 to 227. So we're pretty close on the IWM. We're farther away in the SPYs and the Qs, but I think that this is exactly what the bulls needed. False breakdown, VIX getting crushed all the way back down. You can just see that real quick, eyeballing it with the UVIXY chart that I have up. VIX getting crushed all the way down, and buying coming back into this market. So it's still a pretty high realized volatility close. SPY closing up 1.8%. That's not enough to start bringing in the vol control funds to start buying again, but it might be enough to really have all that vol selling come in that then eventually tightens this market up. And when the market tightens up, it kind of creates that natural underlying bid to the market. So that's becoming more of my expectation at this point. We are certainly looking a lot better than we did a couple days ago. And this relief on interest rates, let's see if we can follow through. But this is a great start on this bounce back in the TLT, and we'll see if we can get follow through on it. So I think that overall today was a huge and much needed win for bulls. It's a great step one for bulls. they got to prove themselves by clearing up on a few levels, but this is exactly what you want to see. And I'm no longer of the mentality of shorting the rips. I'm now more in the mentality of buying the dips, and that's where we want to be focused. Intraday today, we were just obscenely strong, really strong underlying bid to this market, which just makes a lot of sense when you see the VIX coming down the way that it did. Sure, we got really extended early on this morning, turned into an okay short, maybe not an easy short, but an okay short when we finally got the satisfaction of this extension. I know for myself, I was shorting the Qs on the way up for this pullback, a little bit similar to the strategy that we had been discussing off of Jim's question yesterday, kind of using that with the Qs. So even though this position went against me at first, the pullback to the ADMA plus the working of the position meant that I was able to make decent money in the Qs. Short Apple short, was able to make a few bucks for myself. Micron short off a Pat call out, was able to make a few bucks for myself. But these were all kind of quick hitting cute shorts, exactly like we described in the morning meeting today, where really the focus should be looking to come in and buy the dip. However, when things get a little bit silly to the upside on some of that extension, we can pick and choose some spots for some cute shorts to be able to make a few dollars also. So really continues to be a good trading environment, I think, overall. And again, a much needed win for the Bulls. Some good opportunities for those quick shorts. And then, still focused on the quantum stocks. Going from long to short in RGTI today. Eventually, when we saw this QUBT give this upside capitulation move here at 1040, that was a signal for me to short it, which I did. I did not capture this entire move. It was more of like a scalpy short that I was able to make a few dollars on. IonQ worked this position pretty much all day. Was a little bit too greedy at a couple certain spots, but still managed to close positive on a short in IonQ. And then this is the only one I kept a little bit of overnight. So yeah, I mean that kind of describes it. Trying to think if I have anything else to talk about because I got through all that really quickly, but I don't really think I have anything else to talk about. I think we kind of covered it. I do have to try to get out of here a little bit early today, but I've got at least another 25 minutes or so. If anybody has questions, I'm more than happy to answer them because I think that covers it on my end. It's relatively straightforward what happened today. Light core, huge relief rally, VIX crush, TLT relief. Things are looking good. So that's really all I got. Happy to take a look at whatever it is that you guys have. Varun asking me about China. Yeah, so just typing up Alibaba real quick. I'm in Alibaba, I'm in JD. I don't hate the idea of being in Baidu. I liked those. We saw $100 calls go off for August on size today, like $700,000 worth of $100 calls expiring in August. Made me kind of like this Baidu, even though I don't have a position in it. Alibaba needs to break its descending channel that it's in. You can kind of roughly draw this line. It needs to get above these pivot highs. It needs to get back above like $87, $87, $87.50 for it to start looking really good technically. The big thing about China, in my opinion, is the TLT relief. You get interest rates to go down in the United States. It actually clears the way for China to be able to do max stimulus, and then we can get a move. So interestingly enough, I think that one of the key things to pay attention to if you're trying to be long China, which I am, is what interest rates are doing in the United States. And what we had today is exactly what you need to have happen. The Chinese New Year is approaching. I don't know the exact date. I think it's early February. Let me Google it. January 29th. So, curious to see if the Chinese government does anything in front of the Chinese New Year to try to get people to travel and spend more. But it is going to be the year of the snake, according to my Google search on January 29th. So yeah, I like China, but they need to clear up technically. But JD looks okay. In some ways, JD is better than the other ones. It's PDD. I just don't like PDD because it's partially like a US play, to be honest. You're also asking me about Netflix. Netflix, given a relief rally like everything else, but it's got a lot of work to do to look bullish, in my opinion. Right now, it's just a bearish bounce back. It does not look as good as the indexes do to me. On the bull side of things, you need Netflix to get above 866 to look better. Really, I'd like to see it get above 887 in order to look better. So I'm not in love with what this Netflix chart looks like right now. So it's not something I would be involved in. And then you're asking me about FNGU. That's the FANG ETF, right? FANG 3x levered ETN. It's all FANGs except Tesla. It's got AVGO, Now, and CrowdStrike in it. That's interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I know that the Qs outperformed today. So Qs are up 2.2%, and the IWM is just up 2%. So not a huge amount. How FANG moves is obviously going to really be dependent upon earnings for those names, which is going to be starting in another week or two. I just got this. It's a terrible bet to make. It's a terrible thing almost to even say out loud because of how wrong it's been so consistently for a long time now. But I almost kind of feel like with the new administration coming in, combined with some concerns I have on the earnings reports and some of these FANG stocks on their AI spend versus the revenue that's coming in from it, that we might actually go into an environment where other things catch up a little bit. I feel like that's almost sacrilegious to say because that hasn't happened in, I don't know, it feels like 12 years, at least not on a consistent basis. But I can't help but kind of have that a little bit in the back of my head right now. It could very easily and probably will be wrong because it seems like these names always outperform, and they outperform for obvious reasons. They just have more cash than certain continents probably have cash. But yeah, we'll see. But FNGU bounced back decently along with the Qs, so it's pretty much the extent of that. Hindenburg Research founder Nate Anderson says it has made the decision to disband Hindenburg Research. Wow. Wow, wow. What else? Anything else, guys? Apex Join YouTube wants me to have a look at LLY and ANF. LLY got hit on news yesterday, right? Someone needs to remind me. Because I don't recall. I don't like this chart in LLY to be buying right now. It needs to either get a back above yesterday's high or give a bigger dip to extend down further, give a multi-day down move where then you're doing more of an extension buy. So I would not be ready to jump in on LLY right after it broke down yesterday and then gave an inside day. I had weaker guidance on the diabetes and fat loss shots yesterday. That's what it was. Thanks. So, yeah, I'd be patient on that one. And you're asking me about ANF. Ooh. ANF also, I think, had early guidance announcement 2 trading sessions ago. So, yeah, I would also be, this chart looks very broken to me. I would not be rushing to buy the dip on this. The other question from Apex Join the YouTube is I watched the video today on the Trump 2.0 trade. What other stocks do you think could move next week? after the inauguration, except for Tesla, Bitcoin, DJT, and energy. I think you kind of covered the list there. Um, Energy is what I'm looking at. I think that the Tesla trade is more hype than any substance behind it. It's just because Elon Musk is constantly hanging out with Donald Trump. Bitcoin potentially, but it's like I said when I spoke with Sammy and JR and Mike Camo today on the Trump 2.0 trade. The Trump 1.0 trade was just the pure hype of the election trade, and that moved all that. The Trump 2.0 trade, I think, is actually about what he does. I'm almost getting concerned that there's too much chatter on people just expecting that they can just buy anything because the inauguration is happening, to the point where I almost wonder if it's actually a sell the news event. If there is a big uptick in Tesla, as an example, into the inauguration, and then the inauguration happens, it might be a sell the news event. Because I really think now, going forward, after the initial hype trade post the election, it actually becomes about the policies that go through. Does he implement policies that benefit Bitcoin? Then Bitcoin will go up. Does he implement the policies that allow for offshore drilling? Right. Part of my thought process in this VAL, though there's several steps to it, is the offshore drilling that can come in. So I think it becomes more about the policies, and obviously the big one, because it will impact the entirety of the market, is what happens with the tariffs. Matt asking me, sorry I jumped in late. Any thoughts on SPX? Just looking at SPY. Kind of went over it already, so you could watch the review of it, but just the quick synopsis is, I think that the bulls are back. We got to prove ourselves a little bit more by getting above 600, but the false breakdown in the SPYs that now has snapped back up, I think, is a very bullish signal, combined with the relief in the TLT. If the interest rate relief and the dollar relief continues, I think that the market relief continues as well. So great step one for the market. Step two is we got to clear the resistance levels, namely SPY 600. No problem, Mario. Varun, I don't know if you're giving me symbols that are in that ETF, or if you want me to look at those names. Meta. Yeah, Meta is tricky because it's going to be moving. The movement on this, I think, is going to be dependent upon the TikTok news, which is coming down to the wire. So what I said in the morning meeting this morning, and I'll stand by it now, is I think that Meta is kind of in a void right now until we get through the final verdict on this TikTok stuff. We had seen, I think it was just yesterday, some chatter that the Chinese government might be willing to sell TikTok to Elon Musk to combine with Twitter. Then TikTok came out and denied that. But I think that would actually make perfect logical sense for them to do that. We know that Elon is already heavily involved in China, has to have inroads with the Chinese government, or he wouldn't be able to operate Tesla in the way that he does in the country. That would make sense to me if that deal actually happened. But we'll see. Again, it's something that I'm just kind of generally avoiding for now. Amazon and Google are two of my favorites in the Mag 7 space. The Amazon chart looks great. The Google chart looks great. I think Google's cheap. Google is the real quantum computing winner. I think if we get a winner, I think it's Google. Maybe IBM, but probably Google, because IBM always just seems like they miss on everything. So, yeah, we'll see. Do I think that oil pulls back? Yeah, so oil is starting to get ahead of itself here a little bit, I think. So I don't like to trade oil itself. I probably won't be trading this USO. I prefer to trade the underlying stocks. But this USO seems like this is becoming a really, really big move, and a lot of these commodities do tend to be mean reverting. So I would expect some sort of pullback or in a more bullish circumstance, some sideways price action in oil would make sense. Sideways price action could eventually set this up for higher, but we'll see. It also could be like an inauguration trade a little bit, a sell in oil if Trump brings on the drill baby drill policies. So we'll see. But for the moment, it's been on a tear. I do think it needs a break though. Bill giving me a headline here. As of January 15th, 2025, this was out yesterday morning, there are ongoing efforts to delay the impending TikTok ban scheduled for January 19th. Senator Ed Markey has introduced the Extend the TikTok Deadline Act, proposing a 270-day extension to the current deadline. This extension aims to provide additional time for TikTok's parent company ByteDance to divest its U.S. assets, thereby preventing a nationwide ban of the app. And then, just hit right now, Trump considers executive order to save TikTok from ban. Snap and Meta moving on that. Yeah, Snap just got smoked on that. And Meta is down a bit also. Snap seems to be really taking the brunt of it. Yeah, it's been my thought process, honestly, from the beginning, even though that we're coming down to the wire here, that they're not going to get rid of Trump. We know that. They're not going to get rid of TikTok. I just don't think they're going to do it. Just kind of not how we operate here in the United States. Yeah, for sure. I already saw some campaigns around, like, if they ban our TikTok, like, everybody needs to delete their Meta apps and only use Snap. And I saw some other, apparently there's some other Chinese social media company that's similar to TikTok that everyone needs to go download. Like, I've seen all that. Yeah, and I agree with you, Tate. It's the same way, you know, Trump was the original one that wanted to ban TikTok. But now he wants to save it because I agree. It helped him get elected. He wants to help crypto because it helped him get elected. Like he is in the business of doing favors for people who do favors for him, or in this case, companies. So that's what I would expect to see. TikTok's going to hold in. He's going to want to support crypto to some degree. Yeah, exactly. What are the incentives? Anybody else got anything for today? Otherwise, I'm happy to do a quicker one. I got to take care of a couple things. All right, cool. We'll wrap it up there. Have a great night, everybody. I will see you all tomorrow. If you're in the YouTube, give me the thumbs up, tell your friends, and have a great night.